All right, theme retros. So you may most likely have come across different retrospective with the theme. There is tons of information out there. Now the question is, shall we not? And the thinking behind is that depends and depends on the aim and the context. Now, just to get it out the way sooner rather than later, there are a lot of silly retro themes out there. And that is where I think the meaning of having a retro with a theme has been lost. And those retro themes may come like the Captain America retro or the Star Wars retro or the whatever kind of theme retro. That's not really a theme retro. That's just taking the very same retrospective formats that we also commonly use and then just give it some character. So giving, some sort of silly and the theme. Now, a theme retro in my mind is when you have something at heart with a purpose that you want to reflect on. Taking the opportunity of a regular interval, pause and reflect into how the team is doing. Not just about what we're doing, but how we're doing it. So I want to show you some examples of what I do think a theme of a retro should be about, and some of the frames that maybe are helpful for you that I have used in the past. So let's go and have a look at, for example, a forming session. So you have a brand new team, they haven't worked with each other before. And so you want to take the opportunity to do a forming session on that retro. Different things that maybe you want to look at is, for example, a timeline and a self-care. So here the ask is that everybody sort of takes a section of their history and goes through, craft a line of ups and downs through their journey life, and then everybody explains to each other. So we understand a little bit where we come from, things that sort of gives us a positive response to, and things that, life has ups and downs. So what are the downs about? And also have a little bit of a self card, maybe an image, a name, nickname if they have a preferred way, or a story behind that. What are their superpowers? So things that are particularly good for us to bear in mind, and some other comments. So this one, if you go through the motions, everybody passes the baton, so you get to know each other quite well. Another one perhaps is a team foundation session. So coming together, and even depends of timing, you could do it appended from the timeline journey one. So you end up as a team deciding what's your team name, what's the team purpose, what everybody consider as traits to have within a great team. And because the definition of a great team then there informs things that we commit to do so that we become a great team. Last but not least, in terms of forming, definitely a session on definition of done. So here again, an example of past occurrences. Essentially, what do we see between the work being done and being done? Right? That I like to call it like the gap in between uh, the tube and the platform. So the gap between the functionality being there and us being able to put it in production, right? Being able to be used in the market. What is in between? That is the definition of done, which that will translate in every single piece of work, right? So it's something wide across. All right, so some more examples of theme retrospection. So here, fairly basic structure. This retro, I think, is quite helpful to come together and look at where are we, how do we feel that we are doing as a team in terms of our coordination, our transparency, our direction in terms of the delivery of things and their value, and also how we can collaborate. So it gives it a structure with different buckets that we want to know where is the feel of everybody and how can we make it better. So that's going beyond of like, what did we set ourselves to do? How did it go? And what we're going to try next time. But it's also giving it some buckets for people to think specifically. How about how we coordinate amongst ourselves and other teams? What about the visible work in progress? Are we going towards where we want to go? What is our purpose of existence? And how about delivery? Maybe we churn a lot of things, but there is no value on them. And also how we can collaborate. Right, one more thing. So this is about metrics. So first starting with, I'm sure that you're comfortable with, so that there is a clarification of why are we here, and it's not about finger pointing, but basically we've done the best with what we have at hand. And starting on that premise, first thing that you look at is some sort of this is behavioral things that you can apply in every retro, right? So being fair and kind to each other, being present, right? Just leaving aside, especially with global teams, just for a moment of time, right? Let's leave other things aside and focus what we're here for. Sort of part two, or main part of this, is looking again a way to bucket different areas. So self-management, attention to results, how are we increasing our predictability, which one of the aims of Agile after all. And then having everybody to define where are we or where we want to go. Right? So you can look at it together. And then obviously some actions from the information gathered, the insights gathered above. Right. Last but not least is something super recent for me. So yes, you can also have a retro, which is very specifically themed around your development pipeline. So if you're working in software, you may have seen things like this before. So if we look at the top one, so we just had a session from relatively new team and be like, okay, so what is our current pipeline of delivery from inception? So a story and idea into all the way from that to be in production available for users. So we come up with this structure, which is so very often the case, but also having a common understanding of why are we looking at those environments and boxes in development stages as a ephemeral. And with that, what I mean is like you will select a piece of work, that idea, that inception, then span one of these development environments, develop that idea into that space, and once has gone to quality assurance, then that instance disappear. So basically what you're trying to do is reduce the conflicts and keeping things ephemeral so they are very updated from the production environment. Then we look at what is the QA or quality assurance sandbox or development environment for, and who handles their conflicts, and how we move from there to staging, where is user acceptance testing happening, and or also the process from there into the live environment. And going through the motions, how can we remove bottlenecks? How can we move away from stage gates into valuing that flow, that finishing of a starting new thing? And then part two, which we were looking at, you may have seen this before, especially if you work with Jira. So this sort of like workflows of items of work or product backlog items. So from the very inception all the way, what are the different stages, going through the motions all the way until it's done. So again, taking an opportunity for everybody being there and being like, this is our setup tool process. Is this process in line what we want and how we want to operate? Yes, no, what we finding difficult, how can we streamline it, and what we're going to try next time. So I think taking the time for theme retros with a purpose is really helpful. Please don't get distracted with silliness and go back into why are we meeting at this point, right? What is the value of this touch point of our cadence? And are we increasing predictability, reduce risk? At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. So there you go. Hope this thoughts and examples and even recent occurrences are helpful, please let me know what you've done and how are you finding it.